Alright, welcome back to the channel, guys. If you followed me on Instagram for a while, you know I've had problems with BCM's barrels and had a pretty bad experience dealing with their customer service department. So today we're going to go over in detail of everything that happened on the Baffle Strikes and dealing with BCM, and why I'm very disappointed in their actions, and it is a shame to see such a big company and such a respected company by most do what they did. Let's start by why I chose BCM initially. Back in 2013, when Obama was trying to essentially ban ARs, it was my first year in college and I wanted to buy an AR. So big purchase, any big purchase I do, I want to do a lot of research. Started researching ARs, and BCM is kind of the company that really stood out, that they always focus on quality, didn't take any shortcuts, because their rifle was going to be a tool used potentially to save somebody's life. And that's really resonated with me, being an engineer, and at the time working at a steakhouse. It was one of the best steakhouses in the city. I wanted everything to be of quality and done the right way. So since 2013, I pretty much bought exclusively BCM rifles and BCM parts. So this experience was pretty shocking. All of this happened on my 11.5 upper, purchased directly from BCM. It had the standard profile barrel. It was not a cold hammer forge. This instance, it was just their standard barrel. So back in 2017, I had about 4,000 rounds on this upper, and I came home from the range one day and just taking my gun apart, cleaning it and whatnot, and noticed that a round had struck the end cap of my suppressor. So I take the suppressor off, and the round had even impacted the muzzle brake. So when you have a Baffle Strike or anything of this nature, there's pretty much three things that could potentially cause this issue. Number one, the suppressor and muzzle brake interface could be out of alignment. Therefore, the barrel suppressor hole is not concentric, and the round will not have adequate space to exit the suppressor without making contact with it. Secondly, the ammo could be out of tolerance and start to wobble as soon as it leaves the muzzle of the gun, and as it does that, it could veer off of its normal straight path and strike the muzzle brake and strike the suppressor. Third, the barrel could be so shot out that it is expanded enough, or be hot and worn out, that is expanded enough to where it's not engaging that round, and the rifling is not engaging that round sufficiently to spin it and stabilize it as it moves down the barrel. So this instance, while my upper had around 4,000 rounds, I immediately threw out that the barrel was shot out, because I think the average barrel life for a standard barrel is around 12 to 15,000 rounds. Now, second to cross off is the suppressor muzzle device interface alignment. I knew that was good because I had watched the guys at Interstate Guns put my muzzle brake on and check the alignment with the suppressor, so that was out of the question. And then I moved to the round quality, basically how concentric is that round, and did it destabilize that fast to strike the muzzle brake when it, that inch or two distance out of the muzzle to the end of the muzzle brake to even strike the brake. For this instance, I actually contacted the ammo manufacturer, and they took care of the repair. I sent my suppressor and entire upper to Surefire. They checked the alignment, everything was good to go. So I did have to pay around $300 or $50 or $400 to repair that, but the ammo company took care of that. So I went through the hassle of getting the suppressor repaired and whatnot. And remember, this first muzzle brake suppressor Baffle Strike was in 2017. Now 2019 rolls along and the same exact thing happens. And at this time I have about 6,000 to 8,000 rounds down this barrel. Same BCM standard barrel. I'm still giving the barrel the benefit of the doubt. I do not think it had opened up so bad to where it's not engaging that round. The rifling should be doing its job. And same thing with the suppressor alignment. I know that my suppressor is aligned with the interface. I am confident in that. And this time, the ammo I was using was Federal M193. Federal is well known for being one of the best and consistent ammo manufacturers in the country. So I was really skeptical that it was their round, but with my experience from the first instance, I was pretty dead set on it being the ammo. So I reached out to Federal, and they wanted to test the ammo that I had left. It was a 1,000-round case back when good old days when ammo was 24 cents a round. Again, I only had 25-ish rounds left out of the case, and they want me to send it back so they could test it. Really wasn't feeling good about it, because if there was an issue, they probably weren't going to see it with the 25 rounds that were left, since 25 is such a small percentage of the case. But they have the lot size information, and they can go back in their records and see if anyone else had an issue. So long story short, I sent it to them. They didn't see anything, and that was it. They were pretty much done. And I was rubbed the wrong way with the guy I was dealing with at Federal. I send my upper and suppressor to Surefire. They look at it, say it's all good. I think they had known me by name by now and offered to just repair my suppressor for free. So now my brand new suppressor, this expensive toy that we had to wait 6 months at the time for, has been core rebuilt twice. So now comes the juicy part with BCM. I reach out to BCM and say, hey, this is what happened. I had the same thing happen 2 years ago. Can you guys just take a look? So I sent it to BCM. They do their inspection. I'm not sure what they do, but I'm assuming it's some type of bore scope where they can take a camera, look down, see the erosion, throat erosion, the cracking in the barrel and whatnot. And this is where the infamous 12 to 15 rounds per minute line comes in. I don't know who was the first person to hear this. Probably around the same time Gun Thoughts had it. I've seen plenty of other people have it, and I've even heard about them telling this to entire police departments that are issued their rifles. Their response was, the barrel showed signs of being fired at a very high cadence of fire for a prolonged amount of time. The military spec calls 12 to 15 rounds per minute. We are going to offer a one-time courtesy replacement of your barrel. Moving forward, please adhere to the Army TM cadence of fire. Please let us know if you have any questions. Me replacing the barrel, that's fine. I would have bought another barrel. I have no issues doing that. So that is a good customer service gesture by them. But I was kind of taken back by the 12 to 15 round per minute statement. They do not attach the Army TM. I have no idea what that means. I'm not in the Army. It actually stands for Army Technical Manual. It's basically the operating manual for the AR-15 M4 platform. My response was, well, what the hell is the Army TM? And I am voicing my training regimen. I don't go to the range and mag dump because you get no training value out of that. But I do run my gun. It was a little odd to hear that from a company who preaches quality and is well known for having their rifles with certain military special forces units. So my kind of thing is like, well, if you're telling me that just a run-of-the-mill consumer on the civilian side of things, what the hell are you telling your special operations unit? Are you just going to tell them to shoot 12 to 15 rounds per minute? Or, hey, we're not going to replace your barrel? So I try to probe more and more to see what their acceptable barrel life is. Now, granted, barrel life is based on so many factors, and it's almost unpredictable if you don't have a steady rate of fire, because metal's worst enemy is heat. And as you shoot, the barrel heats up. If you have a suppressor, that heats up even more. That barrel's connected to the barrel and transfers heat faster and in a greater quantity than if you were shooting unsuppressed. So I asked them a few questions. What is the average round count? Can certain ammo contribute to faster barrel wear? And can I get the training manual, because I'm not in the military? So they sent the training manual, and here we were going to take a look, and it says sustained rate of fire for the weapon is 12 to 15 rounds per minute. This is the actual rate of fire that a weapon can continue to deliver for an indefinite length of time without serious overheating. And this is in the warning section, actually. If you have an M4 operator manual, or you can look it up online, it's basically just saying that if you want your barrel to last forever, this is the rate of fire that won't heat it up, that won't cause damage by heat, basically. If you never really took a minute to think of how slow 12 to 15 rounds per minute is, just take a listen. The 12 to 15 rounds per minute thing is still funny at this point because it's not only in the technical manual, the operating manual, it's also in an Army training circular. So this is TC 322-9. It is defined here as slow semi-automatic fire. It says slow semi-automatic fire is moderately paced at the discretion of a soldier, typically used in a training environment or a secure defensive position at approximately 12 to 15 rounds per minute. All soldiers learn this technique of slow semi-automatic fire during their introduction to the service rifle during initial entry training. This type of firing provides the soldier the most time to focus on the functional elements in the shot process and reinforces all previous training. So we kind of have two definitions here. The operating manual says, hey, this is the fastest you can shoot to have the barrel life last indefinitely. It's not going to heat it up to damage it. And then we have this where it's just a training environment and hey, you're in a defensive position and you're just trying to keep this enemy's head down, per se, 12 to 15 rounds a minute. As a company that preaches that their gun is a tool that is in harm's way, that is used by all these military contracts, it was comical to hear them say that. You'll see them trying to flex their military contracts here shortly. So anyway, they offer to change the barrel, right? And this whole time I'm asking them, hey, can I just pay the price difference for the Cold Hammer Forge barrel that you guys, they're BFH. Generally, Cold Hammer Forge is accepted to have a longer barrel life, be tougher than just your standard button barrel. Didn't really tell me when the upper was shipping, they didn't respond to my question, and they just sent me my upper back. I get my upper back, and of course the first thing that you should do before you shoot a new gun, and if you're shooting suppressed, is to check the alignment. Sure enough, with a Geisley alignment rod, that is, straight to 1 thou across its length, the alignment was off. You see in this picture that the alignment rod is kind of favoring lower right if we're oriented looking forward. I contact Surefire and hey, check this out. Should I shoot this in this condition? And they say, absolutely not. Who did that? And I was like, BCM put it on. So he's like, hey, we're gonna send you a shim kit so you can redo it. So I'm like, well, I could do it, but I want BCM to do it to make it right. It's like their gunsmiths can't even put a damn muzzle brake on correctly. The funny thing is with that is that BCM actually said they inspected my barrel and tested the alignment and test fired it in that condition. That was a little concerning. I sent it back to BCM and still I have to ask them multiple times if can I upgrade? I'll pay the difference. You guys are already giving me a barrel. I haven't shot this upper with the standard barrel in it. Just please let me upgrade the barrel. And their response is, if it's in good resellable condition, sure, we can make a one-time exception to upgrade the barrel. So everything for them is just like, hey, this is such a burden, we're doing you a courtesy because our barrel pretty much sucked. And here's where I kept at. They really didn't answer my questions ever, and I'm asking them, hey, what's the round count? Because these companies have to do testing on their products and have to get a baseline of how their product is going to perform. Sure, they can't quantify and test every single fire rate in every single condition, but they should have a general idea of how long their product's going to last. So finally they answer the question and say, sorry, we cannot state the difference in average life of a barrel between the standard and Cold Hammer Forge due to many factors. Machines, parts, bolts, the cleaning, shooting patterns, environments, ammunition, cadence of fire, all factors that play into the lifespan of your weapon system. Sure. Then they give the general statement that the hammer forging process is thought by many to offer a longer barrel lifespan than other rifling methods, although no comprehensive and comparative studies have been done. So I find it kind of odd that BCM hasn't done any comparative studies on standard versus Cold Hammer Forge. In the meantime, I'm reaching out because I'm like, well, hey, if BCM's not going to give me a Cold Hammer Forge, that's what I want. That's what I want to go with. So I reached out to Dano Defense and they actually gave me numbers. So props to them, shout out to them. They actually make their own Cold Hammer Forge barrels. So, I said, hey, I want to buy your barrel. It's going to be 11.5, suppressed all the time. What can I expect? And it said, barrel life is far from an exact science, of course. Factors count, round count, suppression, rate of fire, cleaning cycles, all stuff that we know. I generally say to expect 18 to 20,000 rounds with normally, but running suppressed with good care would be my expectation to get 12 to 15,000 rounds. Running higher courses of fire, right? People here, we run our guns hard, we train hard, we don't baby our equipment, and we expect our equipment to perform to the way that we're going to use it. And best comment, at the end of the day, we stand by our product. Now this is Daniel Defense again. We stand by our product, and if you're not satisfied with its performance and longevity, we will replace it or refund it. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Have a great day. That's what I like to see. A company that knows their product and is going to stand behind it, even if you don't like it. You know, I've been in the customer service field for over 8 years now, and there are people that will just complain to try and get free stuff. You know, I'm not one of those people. I'm not looking for a handout. I just want honesty, and I just want the company that I'm supporting and I'm spending my money on to actually stand behind their product. With that said, I get BCM to give a one-time exception to upgrade my barrel to the BFH, their cold hammer forge. And I'm still asking them, have you guys seen this type of damage? And they still try and put it on me. They say, we have seen barrels run very hot before. We use a borescope to inspect the interior of the barrel. Sure. When we see the chrome lining has multiple cracks in it and the throat has been eroded, we determine the damage was due to heat. The damage to the muzzle device can be due to a few different things, such as hitting the muzzle device on something to get it off center can then cause rounds to hit it, or if the barrel is shot at as well. So we've already sent it to Surefire, and it's already been confirmed that everything is in alignment, and they know this, and they're still trying to put it on me, saying that I hit my muzzle device on something to get it misaligned. I get my upper back. It's got their BFH barrel, their marketing term for a cold hammer forge, and everything is fine, right? I'm not shooting it hard because I've already had this happen to me twice. I don't want to send my suppressor off again to get repaired. This whole time, remember, I said I wasn't really satisfied with Federal's customer service experience, so I'm kind of just poking the bear every now and then. And finally, I actually get a response. And this is in March of 2020. So it's almost a year now that I've gotten the cold hammer forge barrel. And I'd say I probably have 1,000 rounds, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 rounds through this barrel at this time. Federal had gotten a new customer service director. He reached out, he said, hey, sorry for the way we handle things. If you are willing, please send in your upper. We would like to take a look at it and just make sure everything's okay. And I was like, what does it got to hurt? Let's see what happens. I did not tell them that. Remember, the second Baffle Strike was on the standard barrel. I now have a cold hammer forged barrel that only has 1,000 to 2,000 rounds through it. I didn't tell them that. So just see what happens, right? Federal shoots millions of rounds a year, right, during their testing. So their gunsmiths are going to know what they're looking at, and they've probably seen a lot of stuff. So I sent it to them, and the response back I got, I was very surprised. Now remember, this cold hammer forged barrel from BCM has about 1,000 to 2,000 rounds through it. They get back to me, and they basically said that the barrel has extreme signs of cracking. They would not shoot it suppressed, and they've never seen anything like this. Something has to be wrong. And I've also reached out to a couple other people in the barrel industry, and they said the same exact thing. That barrel should not be doing that at 1,000 rounds. So I'll just scroll through some pictures here. The first one will be for my barrel, cold hammer forged, 1 to 2K rounds through it. You can see how bad the cracking is, and it's not uniform compared to a clean barrel that hasn't been shot. You can see it's not even cracked. So very surprised there. Federal was kind of like, man, thanks, sorry this happened to you, and they even offered to buy me a new barrel, which they didn't have to do. I'm not asking for a free barrel from them. Their ammo did what it was supposed to do, and they even offered to take a look at it. So I told them, no, I want to send this back to BCM so they can have a look at it, because they need to take care of it. It's their product that's failing. So with that being said, I take all of the information that I have from Federal, the pictures, what their gunsmith said, and contact BCM again and say, hey guys, I have less than 2,000 rounds on your cold hammer forged barrel. Their gunsmiths are saying it shot out. Did it slip through quality control? Confident response was, your barrel did not slip through QC. It was inspected multiple times prior to your shipping your replacement, which was not correct. Maybe they expected the barrel, but they definitely didn't inspect it correctly, because remember, my muzzle brake was put on crooked. So send it back to BCM. We're happy to offer you a full refund. I'm not asking for a refund. I just want a product that works. At this time, I still, minus save this experience, I still think BCM makes good stuff. but this we'll see. Their next comment is pretty much, I'm not going to buy anything from them ever again. This is where they really pissed me off, and this is probably the most arrogant and disappointing thing that I've ever seen a company do, because somehow I always end up interacting with a company's customer service. So they got my upper, so we confirm receipt of your upper group. BCM upper groups and rifles exactly like yours are continuously deployed with MIL, OGA, and PMCs all around the globe. They will serve multiple deployments without so much as a malfunction. Now, granted, I never had a malfunction with my rifle. Your first barrel went through extensive QC, and your second free replacement barrel went through it twice. This barrel, exactly like your last one that replaced at no charge, is completely shot out after it was run cherry red hot multiple times. This is BCM blaming their quality control issues on me with completely false accusations. There is never one time during my training that my gun got hot enough to even need gloves to hold the upper. So please tell me how I was able to run this barrel cherry red hot. The fastest I've ever shot with this was one 20-round mag dump of full auto. And if your barrels can't take that BCM, then you really shouldn't have all these MIL, OGA, and PMC contracts. Now here's the best part. We will process a full refund for the upper group returned, as we think you should be better served by another vendor. So they're not owning up to their quality issues. 2, they're blaming it on me. And 3, they're not taking ownership and say, hey, we don't want to deal with you anymore. You keep using our product like it should be used, and it's failing you. You should probably go find another vendor. And to top off this whole experience, they sent me a check, right, for my whole upper group. This is May 2020, right when Corona is starting. They kept my entire 11.5 upper, so I had to rebuild a new one, and parts were hard to find, so that was very frustrating. And then they didn't even send the check with a tracking number. They just sent it through the mail. They're sending a check for $900 some odd that I'm going to use to build an upper, and they didn't send a tracking number. You know, I think if they had some decency, they would at least send it UPS ground or FedEx, or if they had a high standard of customer service, they would have next day aired it in a FedEx envelope with the tracking number. With all that said, what am I running now in my 11.5 right here? You know, after that, Criterion kind of picked up on it, and they reached out to me and offered to send me a barrel. I wasn't asking for one. You know, I have friends that are in the industry that I could have utilized, but I like to buy the products that I'm using. So they sent me one of their 11.5 core series barrels. The funny thing about Criterion is that they're literally right around the corner for BCM, and they do OEM barrels for them. I asked both BCM and Criterion, you know, who makes your barrels, or specifically BCM, who makes your barrels for the standard and cold hammer forge. They wouldn't answer. And I asked Criterion, what barrels do you guys make for BCM, and they wouldn't answer. Now, I know they have NDAs and probably can't discuss that, but it is a little frustrating that one of the biggest companies and well-known, you know, you don't really know where their product's coming from. And that's a lot of companies in the industry, really. There's a few who OEM for everyone, and that company will just send their quality and specs to the OEM, and they'll produce what they need for them. But still a little frustrating not knowing exactly where your product is coming from. In closing, extremely disappointed in BCM's customer service response. They have become one of the biggest and most well-known rifle AR-15 manufacturers, and there's a lot of people out there that are running their stuff. And again, I'm not the only one that has had this problem. Gun Thoughts, several people have messaged me on Instagram, and I have heard from people that, again, they have told this same 12 to 15 round per minute statement to police departments that they have contracts for their gun. So make up your mind, BCM. Do you want people to run your stuff or not? What really pisses me off about the 12 to 15 round per minute thing, if they actually cared about their customer, Granted, I didn't see this private Facebook group, but supposedly this came up in a private Facebook group. The owner, Paul, knew about it, addressed it, and said, hey, that's not what we tell people. That's not what we do. That's not BCM. Something of those lines. Now, when he became aware of that, the right thing to do would have been to go to the customer service team, educate them on what their actual motto is for their barrels and for their gear, and reach out to every person that they told that to, because they have done a great job of just kind of suppressing this and throwing it under the rug. That would have been the right thing to do. I still think they made decent products. Their rails and their furniture are great. I wouldn't trust their barrels because something's going on. Their quality's lacking. They're not owning up to it, and it's very apparent. More and more stories of this are coming out. And at the end of the day, do you want to buy from a company that can't stand behind their product and is going to treat their customers like this? So that's up to you. Nowadays, there are plenty of other companies in the game. If it were me personally, again, buying a barrel, I'd probably buy Ballistic Advantage, because just they offer a 1 MOA guarantee. There's nobody else in the business that's offering that. Or Daniel Defense, just because I reached out to them. I know they make their cold hammer forged barrels, and they specifically gave me a number, round count, this is what you can expect. If you don't like it, we'll stand behind our product and replace it for you. And again, I'm not looking out for a handout, but it is nice to know that a company is confident in how their product's going to perform, that they can do that for the customer. So with that said, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.